United States of America has beef, and to be fair, it's always had beef, but the menu is seasonal. The flavour of the decade seems to be North Korea, with the pair constantly sparring in a war of words and heavy red button discussions. But what if the two nations laid aside their differences and joined forces? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, the channel that answers as many semi-insane questions as we do semi-legit ones. Why? Because aren't we all just a little bit curious? And I don't know, sometimes it's more fun to answer the wacky questions. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today I'm asking, what if America joined North Korea and became a superpower? Before we get into this video, why don't you guys tell me, other than your own country, what is your favourite nation? Mine has to be Canada. While you're down there, why don't you hit that thumbs up button and share this video with a friend? Also, if you want to connect with the creative team that went into making this video, then all of our links are in the description box. Okay, so, I mean, let's face it, the United States of America annexing North Korea is outrageous and ridiculous, but let's play along for, I don't know, lols? I say annexing because this really is the only way this could go down. Alone, there is categorically no way this could go any other way. North Korea could not defeat the United States in battle, nor could they simply decide that they were one with the United States. The only way this could happen is for some tactical reason. The United States wanted North Korean land and they decided to colonize, which in this day and age is pretty downright crazy. Nonetheless, despite being a relatively poor country with a gross domestic product of just $28.5 billion, North Korea is resources rich, they just don't know how to use it. North Korea has a great mineral reserve with large stocks of iron, gold, magnesite, zinc, copper, limestone, molybdenum, graphite, and uranium. The Economist estimates that the country's wealth is as high as $10 trillion in value, which is not to be sniffed at. If the United States did want to absorb the Democratic Republic of North Korea, then it certainly would solidify its superpower status. At the moment, China leads the world in domestic mine production, but with North Korea, the United States could take the edge. Okay, let's circle back to China. If the United States and North Korea joined forces, China would not be best pleased. Much of the Korean War was a power struggle between Western and Eastern influence. If the United States suddenly had an extra 120,500 square kilometers of land in the East, well, not only China, but Russia would feel pretty strongly about it. North Korea shares borders with both China and Russia, and while relations are currently civil, neither superpowers wants the United States on their doorstep. Tensions would be high and could well erupt, which is not what anyone wants. While a joining of America and North Korea would alleviate the concern of missiles from the hermit nation, it would aggravate a much realer threat. Aside from Russia and China feeling sore about a union, South Korea would probably feel pretty weird about it too. If anything, they want a unified Korea, and having the states taking over the North is probably just as bad for their independence as being sat next to a dictator. South Korea and the United States are allies, but how long would that last if they saw each other every day? You know who I also don't feel would get along? The United States citizens and the North Korean citizens. They could not be more culturally different, and that isn't to mention the fact that North Koreans have been fed propaganda their whole lives teaching them that Americans are evil. Also, not that we can ever cater to white supremacists, but I imagine that they would be pretty livid about the situation too. Would North Korea be a 51st state, further still than Hawaii and Alaska? Or would it be an unincorporated territory of the United States like Puerto Rico? In either case, North Koreans could, in theory, freely move into the US if they wanted, although most probably couldn't afford to. Speaking of money, would the profit of the natural resources outweigh the financial burden of having a responsibility to ensure the well-being of the country? Okay, but once again, how would this even work anyway? Kim Jong-un suddenly forgets his God-given dynasty and agrees to yield to Donald Trump? I severely doubt it. Would the United States simply go in for a long-distance Anschluss and overthrow the dictator, declaring the land their own? They can't do that either, and the UN would have a lot to say about it, and again, China and Russia. Sure, the United States could steal the land, but it would render them the top superpower for all of 10 minutes until every other country in the world calls them out and a war is started. Or maybe not. Maybe it would spark a land grab free-for-all, colonization 2.0, but without all the months at sea. Whoa. Look, in my opinion, This is just never gonna happen. The United States would never be allowed real influence in the East, else China and Russia would kick off. It would be unprecedented, and while it may seem beneficial in terms of hot property in an area of the monopoly board that the United States doesn't occupy much of, it would likely cause more harm and upheaval than good. The only way that the United States and North Korea could join forces would be to agree on a few fundamental issues. Perhaps they could band together as allies, although this would ruffle feathers, or they could agree to be part of a global pact of world peace, making our global population the true superpower. So what do you guys think would happen if America and North Korea joined forces to become a superpower? Would you be freaking out that you live in an episode of Stranger Things and the world has turned into the upside down? Or would you be happy about it? What would this mean for the rest of the world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. But for now, if you like this video, do make sure you give it a good thumbs up, share it with a friend, and stay subscribed for more big answers. I'm your host, Rebecca Felgate. I'll catch you in the next video, but until then, stay curious, stay alert, and never ever stop questioning.